Okay, this is the Wildspire Waste. This is new area after the Pukey. I am using the Pukey's armor and the Great Sword. The reason I'm doing that is because the Pukey's armor gives a poison bonus. So I can easily poison monsters. But this quest for the very beginning is really boring. It's just walking.
We've waited this long to get our hands on the evidence we need. Don't get us killed now, Hunter.
And they're just gonna keep saying that this area is different from the forest. Which, obviously, you can tell.
Guide us there safely, partner.
The interesting thing with the desert is you don't need cold drinks and you don't need hot drinks. I don't know if they got rid of those. I think they did because I don't think I've seen them in the crafting list. Which is interesting because if you don't know, you used to have to take cold drinks and hot to save your health, and you needed to take hot drinks in cold areas in order to keep your stamina from depleting faster.
Hey, look, a waterfall.
Wow! Definitely couldn't see that before.
Oh, great. We get to go up.
Anyways, there's a wedge beetle up in the top. If you fire your slinger at that, you'll go into like a swinging mode. But it's not necessary. The only time it would be necessary is if you're fighting a big monster and you need to avoid an attack. But yeah, this is just really boring.
Look at that.
So, the thing is,
That some type of beetle?
whenever you go into an area of Monster Hunter, the idea is you want to collect as much stuff as you can because
Even the plants have learned to survive. The fruit scattered throughout the area
that's
have
the
a hard
way,
shell that helps retain moisture.
that's the motto of Monster Hunter. If you go to an area and you need stuff, just collect the stuff because more than likely you'll need them at a later day. And there's a flash bug. The one thing I like is, as you can tell, I picked up a flash bug. It immediately crafted it into a flash pod, which is really good for blinding monsters. And those you can only equip from the item bar.
We made it. Can we have a break now?
No.
Look, the Wildspire. That's where we'll find what we came for.
But we still have a ways to go.
Well, on we go.
Wow, it's just a stone pillar. That's a Wildspire?
Actually, downhill might be worse. This is so heavy.
I guess the good thing about this quest is you just get to see him complain the whole time. But the slinger torch ammo is what is the fire slinger ammo. And it works like bright moss, which is another slinger ammo where it sticks to walls and it illuminates areas. Oh, that could
Did you hear that?
be
Everyone,
really
careful.
great.
Mind checking it out for us there, partner?
Anyways, you collect the honey to make mega potions.
No, dear me, Rathian.
Yay!
Jumpin' Jackies, a Rathian!
One thing you gotta love about Monster Hunter is they love to use puns,
This means, my friends,
especially with their previous monsters.
it is important to stay calm.
And run for your life!
Actually, I would really like to fight this monster because this is one of the... This is actually the first monster you get to see that's an older monster. And the reason for that is they use this monster over and over again because it's one of the two flagship monsters of Monster Hunter. So, yeah. typically it's a hard monster to fight because of the fire and the poison that I can use, but we don't get to fight it, or it's not our quest this time. Anyways, I'm using the flash pods now. They actually work a little weird because they work when you hit the monster with it. And I'm going the completely wrong direction.
Rathian score. Well, like any Rathian, actually.
But she could provide the commission with valuable data.
Yeah, I would love to fight it, but there's no reason for me to fight it. I would really love to fight it, but there's no reason for me to fight it. And it's gone. It's just gone.
I was aware that Zora Magdaros was an enormous beast, but I am in shock over how gargantuan it really is.
Yes, it certainly seems to exceed the measurements in all the guild's writings.
I wonder, how many years does it take for a beast like this to grow to such an enormous size?
So the story with this game is the Elder Crossing is just where all these Elder Dragons are crossing from the old world into the new world, which is just a reason for them to say, oh, this is a new world, because they never explored it until now. But apparently they already knew about the whole place.
I thought we'd never get here.
And there's just more clues. I'm not sure what clues it is for, but you want to keep collecting those so that way you can get your scout fly level up.
We're almost there. Keep it up.
Yeah, finally.
The evidence is within sight. You've done a fine job, Hunter.
Did I? I mean, I really didn't do anything. All I did was help you guys to get away from a Rathian, and I didn't
Let's see
even
what
fight
kind
it.
of present Zora Magdaros has left for us.
Oh, a flaming rock. Such a great present. Oh, the flies. They can actually see the thing we can already tell is there. Thanks. I couldn't see that earlier. I like how they say, oh, another clue, but you obviously saw it. This is the only clue you guys actually have seen. Other than the one that was in the forest, and I don't even know if you saw it. Yay, the bear off. This is actually another old monster. For whatever reason, they decided to show two old monsters in this area. I will say I do like the fact Monster Hunter World is going back to the huge cinematic cutscenes in Monster Hunter Generations. Those were all gone. They were in 4 originally, but then they were gone. I forgot this quest. It's just so funny because using Greatsword is a bit stupid on Vera, because you can't hit its head. If you try to hit its head, you're gonna bounce like I did, and you're gonna get hit. This monster, you can cut off its tail, but this monster, what's unique with it is it's covered in mud. It's hard to tell now, but there was a mud pile, but it's really hard to tell that this monster is covered in mud because it really doesn't look like it is. Now the interesting thing about that is, because it's covered in mud, it's actually weak to 2 elements, and it depends on which... And it depends on if it's covered in mud or not. If it's covered in mud, it's weak to water. If it's not covered in mud, it's weak to fire. That's the really interesting thing with this monster. And that is the tell, if you can hear it, that little train whistle noise. That is the tell for it to do that charge. All those purple effects, that's the poison. Each different ailment and element has a color that appears whenever you hit a monster. People normally tell you not to collect those shinies, but you might as well do it, because I typically will get parts from a monster. The one thing I really want to do is mount it, and there I did it. Now, the mounting thing I still think is a weird mechanic, but you just don't want your stamina bar to go completely down. And it gives you a hint with that flashing box around them. So to attack, it's gonna flash to attack, and then it's gonna flash to brace. But if it goes like the monster's gonna charge into something, that tells you to move. It's a little weird, but I still like that they're keeping the mechanic from 4, but they made it a lot better, in my opinion. I think Barroth is one of my favorite monsters, just because the way to fight it is a bit interesting. And it shows you that you can't attack the monster head on all the time. I think that's my favorite thing about this monster. This monster also, you can cut its tail off. And it is classified as a brute wyvern, which just means it's a T-Rex. Or dinosaur. Whichever you prefer. And there it's rolling around in mud. That's what Barroths do best, is they roll around in mud. And then there's Blast Nut, that is used to make the cluster ammo, which is really powerful. It's one of the 2 powerful ammos for the bowgun. Might as well just shoot it. And I somehow broke apart. I don't even know what part I did break, but I just broke apart. It was probably from the mud. But yeah, when it goes to red, that's when it tells you to move. And the reason you want to do that is so you don't lose as much stamina, because if you do the thing where you have to shoot the slinger at the monster to get back on it, that uses quite a lot of your stamina. Anyways, this monster should be poisoned shortly, seeing as the greatsword is a high damaging weapon. And there you can tell in its mouth you saw this poison. That means I did poison the monster, and every now and then you will see a number pop up even when I'm not hitting it. But yeah, typically I always think you should just pick up the shinies, because in my opinion I typically do get materials, whereas half the time you would normally get a wyvern tier, which is just used for research points. And then there's a piercing pod. Obviously, whenever you get a piercing pod, you want to aim down. Hey, there's a paralyzing toad. That's the one fun thing with this game is you can just kick the toad and you'll paralyze the monster. Anyways, I'm focusing on the tail to cut it, because you typically want to cut the tail so that way you can carve. But this monster is sometimes hard to hit the tail, even when you wanna. I do like those wiggly bugs, because they will give you stamina back, and they work like rations. It's a cool way to save your rations, especially because eating a ration is a lot faster than eating one of the well-done steaks or a steak. I think its tail should be close to getting severed. I've been focusing on it for a while, so I find it a bit hard that it's not severed yet. Also, I really should sharpen my weapon, because I have yellow sharpness. But might as well try fair amount. But yeah, you can hear it, that little train whistle. That's the one thing I like about this monster is it's always had that train whistle for a tell. And that's the one thing I do like about Monster Hunter is each monster has their own tells. Like, oh, if it's limping, it's weak. Or it's gonna be able to be captured. Normally when it's limping, that's a sign for it to be captured if you're doing a capture quest, which just means you have to capture the monster and not kill it. And they sort of say you should capture a monster because you supposedly get more rewards, even though I feel like sometimes that's not true. But the only reason you want to capture a monster is because the monster drops a plate. And you normally want the plates because it's the rare drop and you need that to make armor. Oof! And that's why I love this game. I think that's the best part I've ever gotten on any Monster Hunter game is just slide down, jump up, cut the tail, and I get the tail. That's typically the worst thing whenever you do try to cut the tail is you never get the tail, even when you want it. So this is the third mount I got on this monster. Whenever you do get a mount, each time gets progressively harder to mount the monster. But yeah, you want to move whenever that red pops up. Other than that, you just gotta keep mashing the triangle button to attack it. And then you just do another charge slash. Honestly, I don't think that was the best place to do that, because its head is the strongest part on it. Anyways, the bear off should be getting close to dying.
That's a thorn pot, a powerful type of stinger ammo. Attacking the part it's latched onto deals blunt damage.
That's pretty cool. It does blunt damage. So, like I said previously, blunt damage normally only involves the hammer and the hunting horn, but there are some exceptions to that. And I find it a little cool that you can attack those parts to deal more blunt damage, and blunt damage is how you knock out a monster. And there you can see whenever that little spark animation happens when I hit its head, that's where I was causing blunt damage to happen. And actually that's probably the best place to put it, is on its head, because that's the only place that really needs blunt damage. I do think it's a little weird that does blunt damage. Honestly, I think it's the weirdest thing. Anyways, that little head shaking thing, that's where you get knocked out. And that sucks a lot. Because most of the time you can't avoid
You did it, partner.
getting knocked out.
I'll be waiting over by the slab.
So there we did it. We killed it. Now we gotta get our 3 cars as always. I don't think there's really anything too rare with the bear off. There's gonna be one rare part, but it's not super ridiculously rare. Like the plate.
Oh, hey. Glad you're back. Oh, don't worry. I found a safe place for the scholars to hide. I guess I'll go round them up. Wait for us back at camp.
You there. Are you part of the 5th Fleet? Then that means the Elder Crossing is upon us again. The years fly by faster than I can count them. I too am a hunter of the 1st Fleet. Might I trouble you to share your tale with me? Let's find a suitable place. So, my old friends are well. Praise be. It sounds like the good scholars are as incorrigible as ever. Might I ask, are you tracking the monster that dropped that massive slag? I as well. It seems so easy. Follow the trail, find the truth. Well, it has been a pleasure. Nearby you will find my camp. I trust it will be of some avail to you and the others. Please pass a message on to the commander that I am safe. But
Anyways, this is the Wyverian hunter from the 1st Fleet.
If you too feel so compelled, then we will cross paths again at the end of all of this.
And he just travels. Anyways, that walking stick he's using, that's just an insect glaive. If you can figure that out.
Was that who I think it was?
And we finally get our rewards for the quest. There's not really anything interesting. The only interesting things you get are the bear off parts and the armor spear. And then they just add that cutscene.
Good to see you.
So that's gonna do it for this. And this is just us telling him that we saw the
Okay.
last hunter.
Head
And
to
that's the
Wildfire
camp
Waste immediately.
that he left. And they're just telling you that the next thing that you should go do is an investigation at the Wildfire Waste. So that way you can find the one scholar that went missing. And the only other thing I'm going to show you is the bear-off weapons and the armor and its monster list. And he's just saying that the Wyverian hunter will return someday. So there's the Zora Magdros and the bear-off. And I did more hunting on those monsters, so now you can see it's low rank rewards. The more stars, the harder it is to get. Oh wait, no. Anyways, there's the Raffian. So the bear-off, you can break its head, but its arms are the weakest point for every weapon. Yeah, it just tells you about the mud. Anyways, that's gonna do it for this video. So, I don't know. I think this game is probably one of my favorite games, and I hope you like it. Bye-bye.